Hi, everybody. It's Audrey coming to you from my office. I'm here to give you an overview of Radius, and you might be here because you're a longtime Studio user and you're super excited about this feature and you want to learn everything about it. Or maybe you're new to Studio and you're trying to learn the quirks. So we'll go over everything there is to know about Radius in this hopefully not too long video. I am going to start out by putting in a basic shape just so we can talk about how radius works with something pretty simple. So here's a polygon. It's in that shape menu, and now that I've placed it, I can see already there is this parameter in the parameter panel, so this input where I can add a radius. And all I have to do is click on it, and I can type in a value or I can select from the choices. So if I select from the choices, it's super fast. Now the shape is radiused. That might be everything you want, but maybe you want to change your mind. So that's what's really great about this being, a parameter in the parameter panel is that you can later come back and say, actually, I wanted that to be about half as round. Another nice thing is that if you scale this up, it will continue to be the same radius that you specified. So that's really nice for fabrication purposes where you're trying to fit a specific bit or you're going for consistency. If you scale this shape down, at some point, the shape is going to be too small for the radius. So there is a limit, and at some point, the radius will get capped to some maximum size. And then the other thing about this being a parameter is that you can actually change the number of sides for your shape. So basically, it means things in Studio are just as editable and flexible as you're used to them being. And now you can also round the corners. All right, now that we've looked at a basic shape like a polygon, let's move up a little bit and talk about text. A bunch of you are probably super excited about this unlocking the ability to inlay text. So let's add some text in here. And now we can just immediately apply a radius and see what happens. I've applied a 16th inch radius, and I can see already it is too big for what fits here. So that's going to be the case probably for a lot of text because it's made up of these smaller elements. The radius that gets applied is either the radius you ask for or whatever the maximum is that will fit in this shape. So in this case, with this text, I could make it bigger. I could go for a smaller bit, or I could try to choose a different font. And there's going to be variability in what fonts are going to work well and not for inlay specifically. So for example, this April Fat Face is really cool, but I don't think it would be the best pick for inlay because of these very small elements, and you'd have a hard time fitting a bit in there. And in fact, our radius tool is saying like, hey, the maximum that fits in here is 0.018 or a little bit smaller than a 32nd of an inch bit diameter. So in this case, yeah, I would pick a different font. And then there's plenty of exciting fonts. Of course, if you go for something really blocky, then you'll have, I think, a lot of latitude for a big bit in there. Uh, Another font that I like, or another sort of theme to go down is to choose a font that is already a little bit rounded. So let's remove the radius here so that you can see what it looked like before. This Capricino was already pretty rounded, but it has some sharp corners, so I wouldn't have been able to inlay it originally. But now I can add a radius of 1/16 for an 1/8 inch bit, and it should be ready to inlay. But now here's the really important part. If you're going to be inlaying text, your job doesn't end here in design mode adding the radius. You've got to do one more step for any inlay, really, not just text. You need to go to plan mode and double check it. So here we are in plan mode, and we can see if we make sure the bit diameter here is the same as what we were planning on using, so twice the amount of the radius that we applied, which it is in this case. And we can see that that bit is not going to fit here between this part of the X. So for this text, I would probably want to scale it up a little bit. So we're going to make it a little bit bigger, or, reach into the back of your drawer and grab your one itty bitty tiny bit. So you could say, hey, actually, I'm going to cut this out with a 16th inch bit. So you'd be setting a radius of 1/32. And then if we go to plan mode and we say 1/16 as the bit size, then suddenly everything fits. Except sometimes you'll find the letters are too close together. So I've got two tips for you on that. If the letters are too close together, or if the parts of your shape that you're going to inlay are too close together, the standard way to deal with that is to use Shapeshifter to sort of extract that part of the shape. So you can go into Shapeshifter, select one part, say keep existing shapes, make shape, and now you have the T on its own. And you can do that for as many of the shapes that you need to pull apart. Or in the case of text, something that's maybe a quicker hack almost is to put some space between the letters. And then ta-da, you didn't even have to shapeshift them. And we'll reapply the bit diameter. And of course now there's plenty of space between these letters. You're not going to be running into your material. So those are my tips for inlaying for text with Studio's newest Radius feature. Okay, so we've looked at Radius and how it is parametric with the polygon, and we've also taken a look at Radius for inlaying text. And I just want to go over some final, maybe more in-depth details about radiusing and draw shapes and shapeshifter. So what do I mean by that? If you are using draw to make a super custom shape, for example, I'm making this wacky star, then you'll notice that the radius parameter in the panel is sort of grayed out. It's disabled. It's letting you know, hey, this draw shape is still editable, so we can't apply a radius. So what you need to do is simplify the shape, and you do that by bringing it through Shapeshifter. You select it, make shaped, and there you go. It's no longer editable. You can't move the points around, but you can add a radius. So now we've added a radius, and maybe actually I want it to be more organic, so I'll bump it up even more. Great. That's the look that I want. Let's say now I want to cut this out in multiple different sizes. If I do make a copy and try to scale it up, because radius is parametric, it's going to let you scale the shape, but then it might change the shape a little bit. See here, this arm has gotten longer, and that's because it's trying to keep radius as the same value. So if you've rounded your shape and you think you really like the look of it and you don't want to change it, but you do want to have multiple different sizes of it, then Shapeshifter is once again your friend. You can bring your shape through Shapeshifter, make shape, and now when you scale it up or down, the radius is no longer a parametric property, so your entire shape will scale. Okay, that was, I think, everything you need to know about radius and maybe a little bit more. I hope this tutorial has been super helpful for you. If you need to watch more tutorials on Studio, you can find them on our YouTube channel, or if you're in Studio, they're actually down here in the help menu under tutorials. So thanks for watching this. I hope you're enjoying Studio. Have fun with Radius.